What's up, Porch Nation? Welcome back to Porch Nation headquarters here in Worcester, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the triple-decker. It was week 14 here in the Greatest League, and I can't believe it. We've made it. We're here. Season's end. It was a dramatic regular season finish. We saw seed changes, bye weeks won and lost, and our longest streak of the season came to an end. This was exactly the Week 14 we deserved. Let's get right into the drama. Week 14, the regular season finale. 8 games, let's get into it. Week 14 was a fine finish to another special season. We wrapped up our regular season with the final of our 6th annual in-division games. Since we play so many games in division, the division record becomes an important tiebreaker. Let's get into the action, and we'll start in the North, where division record tiebreakers were certainly not a factor. Burger has been atop the North basically since jump, and the top team in the league for just slightly less time. Joe's season has been inconsistent, and he comes into this one looking to split the season series and end with a 500 record. Well, Joe beat his projection and put up this week's 6th highest score, but Berg beat his by even more. In fact, posts this week's 2nd highest score, and cruises on to the playoffs with a perfect division record. And the rematch in Dunbarton comes next in the North. So far as I know, the Zanellas are the only league couple, but there are murmurs, and I have my fingers crossed. As they say, you can't hurry love. Steve comes into this game having rebounded last week after having just his 4th loss the week before. D comes in as one of only 2 teams without a division win. Yeah, D had an outstanding defensive week, but just like the Patriots, you need an offense to win games too. Steve makes this 2 wins in a row and keeps his 5th spot in the seeding with this Log House Showdown Series sweep. Let's move on then to the South, where we had a couple of exciting games with absolutely no playoff implications. Both Josh Steinberg and Andy have been solid teams this year. They both suffered some bad luck facing high-score teams despite their own scoring success. Both saw a clear path to the playoffs just 2 weeks ago and now find themselves playing for pride. Well, this one was not a prime example of how well they've been able to put up numbers this season, but this was our closest game of the week, and Josh won this one with a come-from-behind Monday night win as well. Josh's strong second half has earned him a consolation bye week. On to the other South matchup, Skinner came into this week on a 2-game win streak and having clinched the division just last week. Adam came into this week trying to avoid going on his 2nd 4-game losing streak of the season. Well, Adam was able to squeak out a close one here. He barely beat his projection, and Skinner loses for only the 2nd time in division this season. Adam gets his revenge for his Week 4 loss. And now on to the West, where the division was on the line, and maybe a little bit of seeding as well. Let's start with my rematch against Ross. We faced off in Week 7, where I was the victor. Well, neither of us were reaching for records this time, but Ross gets this season series split and wins by north of 20 points here. Due to an intricate web of tiebreakers, Ross earns a consolation bye week. The other West face-off was a big one. Ethan has led this division all season. Just a few weeks ago, his lead looked insurmountable. Well, Alex comes into this game with the chance to leapfrog Ethan and sneak into the playoffs. Boy, oh boy, did these teams smash their projections. But Ethan's Niners quartet were too much for Alex's 3rd highest score of the week, and he posted the highest score of the week himself. And finally, the East Division. Both of these games had huge impact on the playoffs and could have easily been Game of the Week. Let's start with Dylan versus Pete Part 2. Part 1 took place all the way back in Week 1, aka the last time I was not sub 500. and went to Dylan in a low-scoring affair. This time, the stage is set for Pete to get revenge, split the series, while putting Dylan's wildcard spot in jeopardy. Well, Pete would go on to post his third highest score of the season and break his projection. He even held a 1.2 point lead going into Monday night. Derrick Henry would go on to post more than 1.2 points, and Dylan snags the victory and secures his place in the playoffs. And now our game of the week. Talk about saving your best for last, let's set the stage. Josh Marshall came into this game sitting on the second seed and its accompanying bye week. Jeff comes into this week on a 10-game losing streak, and spoiler alert, he would go on to miss this week's projection by more than 15 points. Well, this one is game of the week for its impact on the season, definitely not for the fireworks show this combined score was. Josh Marshall was pummeled by big injuries, and even Jeff's 90 points became a mountain too steep to climb. Josh's 61.5 would not be enough, and Jeff goes out on a win, having disrupted so many playoff races. Huge kudos, dude. With this loss, Josh finds himself with the exact same record as Dylan, and Dylan has the head-to-head tiebreaker. So now Dylan leapfrogs Josh for the division lead. But not so fast on the bye week. Ethan has the same record as Dylan as well, and Ethan won their head-to-head. Therefore, Ethan gets the second spot, and Dylan falls down to the third. Not to be outdone, Josh Marshall drops from the second seed down to the sixth, but still lands a spot in the playoffs. Speaking of, here it is, the finalized playoff picture. All the horns at the perfect time.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Championship bracket has a couple of fantastic ones for you. And don't sleep on the consolation bracket. It's kind of like interleague play, as Alex and Joe are playing for the first time this season, as are Pete and Andy. Also, this was the final week of the season for a few of us. For myself, Adam, Dee, and Jeff, the 2023 season has concluded. Thanks, folks, for your effort this season. We'll talk about draft orders soon, but until then, enjoy that eternal bye week in the sky. That's going to do it for the 2023 regular season. So until next time, keep thriving, Porch Nation. Woo!
Bloop.